Hi everyone, Dante here. So, we have decided to start a new segment on our channel aimed at bringing enlightenment to the IT world to your minds from a technical aspect or point of view. All fancy words aside, it's a sort of IT clash or segment to inject info into your knowledge to those who desire to know more, or just for those who are wanting to refresh their mind within the IT field. I know I said all fancy words aside, and there I go using big words. So, without further ado, let's start with our Tech Class 101, Episode 1. What is a computer? You might ask, what is a computer and what are its components? According to industry standards, a computer is an electronic device for storing and processing data, typically in binary form according to instructions given to it in a variable program. In simpler terms, it's an electronically programmable device that is used to perform tasks controlled by many software or programs. Now, computers have come a long way since its first inception. The first computer, named ENIAC or ENIAC, was made by John W. Mauchly and J. Presper Eckert at the University of Pennsylvania in the 1900s. ENIAC, which stands for Electrical Integrator and Calculations or Calculator, was so huge it covered 167 square feet, which is equivalent to 800 square feet, or in better reference, it was the size of a one-story home or small home. Now, nowadays, a computer can be the size of the palm of your hand. For example, Raspberry Pi, or for those who don't know what a Raspberry Pi is, your smartphone, because smartphones are a computer. It's an electronic device. It performs tasks and runs on software and hardware. The hardware these old computers run on were very generational and has drastically changed over the course of just a few years. They started out with vacuum tubes, which were basically glass tubes with a filament inside, vacuum sealed. That's what they used, to now integrated circuits or ultra integrated circuits, which are circuit boards with millions and billions of circuits on them, to possible AIs or artificial intelligence. For those who don't know what artificial intelligence is, it's basically a human computer or a human representation of a computer that can think on its own and learn from its environment. Now, enough about the history. Let's talk about today's computers. Now, when you hear the word computer, the first thing we like to associate them with is the CPU, or we call them a CPU, which actually stands for Central Processing Unit. Now, how many of you has looked at a desktop and call it a CPU? Well, you're both wrong and right. The CPU is actually a component within it, and what you are looking at is actually its case or tower, commonly known, as I've said before, a desktop. Probably some of you probably didn't even know that because it's a common thing. Someone sees a computer, it's like, oh, there's a CPU, but it's part of the computer, but it's not exactly the CPU. Now we're going to move on to the components of a computer. A computer comprises of 7 basic components, also known as hardware. Hardware refers to the physical or tangible parts of the computer, basically things you can touch or feel with your hand. These are your computer case or tower, motherboard, processor or CPU, RAM, storage, optical drive, more used in older systems, and input or output devices. Now, the way I learned to understand the parts of a computer and how it works is think of it like a human being or a human body. You may wonder, okay, how is that possible? A computer is something mechanical, a person is someone real, Well, let me explain. Number 1, think of the case as your body or skin, in which it keeps all the internal parts safe, like a shell. Number 2, the motherboard is like your skull or brain, It has many components that do multiple functions, and everything is connected to it in some way or fashion. Number 3, the processor, RAM, and storage are all parts of the brain connected together at different regions within the brain being the motherboard. For those in the medical field, the brain has different parts, example, the cerebellum, the cerebral cortex, etc. The processor does all the integrated and complicated calculations. The RAM stores temporary information that's currently being used, referred to as short-term memory. And the storage, or also known as secondary storage, holds all the permanent information. In layman terms, long-term memory. Number 4, the optical or CD drive, as it's commonly known, which by the way not many computers use anymore, is like your senses, where you can see or hear something, taking that information and process it in your brain for further use. And finally, number 5, your input or output devices, which also known as peripherals in the IT field, for example, monitors, keyboards, mouse, etc., are like your hands and feet, taking info from the world around you to your brain and relaying it back in an understandable or easy form. Now, these are all the basic functions of a computer: input, output, process, data, information. These are just terms you will normally hear when you get into what a computer is about and stuff like that. There is a lot more intricate detailing on how a computer works, but if you're just getting to understand what's in a computer and its basic functions, this is what it is. So basically, your case holds your motherboard. The motherboard is situated fairly in the middle of the case. It's screwed down by what you call standoffs. Motherboards come in different sizes, different shapes. The motherboard holds the processor, or CPU, stands for Central Processing Unit, as I said, like the brain. The RAM, it's different. There's different types of RAM as well. So this RAM is also located on the motherboard. It's directly connected to the motherboard. Then you have your storage or secondary storage, also known as your hard drive. Newer ones are SSD or solid state drive or NVMe drive. We'll be going on with those later down in different videos, explaining what those are and how they work. These storage devices are connected to the motherboard via a cable or a SATA cable if it's a hard drive or SSD. Your optical drive is also connected in the same way through a cable or SATA cable. One thing I did leave out, is your power supply or PSU. Power supplies give the computer power. That's how it works. It needs power. It's an electronic device. Power supplies come in different sizes, different wattages, depending on what you need it for, and stuff like that. So that's the basics of a computer. I do hope it was informative. These videos will be short, not to cram you with a lot of information that's not necessary at the moment. We will be breaking down each part as the videos go along. If you need any clarification or want to hit us with some feedback, just please leave a comment. It's very appreciated and will help future videos to be so much better. Leave a like or subscribe. The support is always welcomed. Look out for our next video coming not next week but the following week, as we are now doing 3 segments: tech news, tech class or tech class 101, and your weekly tech tip. And they will be interchanged. You will always get your weekly tech news, but the tech class and tech tips will be interchanged weekly. As I said, the support is always welcome. Till next time, this is Dante signing off. You can always check all our social media tags below, and especially if you're in TNT and you want to check us out for computer parts, you want to check out currently trending for all your accessories and jewelry and all those cool stuff. Be safe, peeps. Take care. Till next time.